We have to talk about what you're doing now, because it's called the Lost Boys Campaign, and this is a campaign for the Centre for Social Justice.
Yes.
So explain to us what that's about and why you wanted to be involved.
Okay, so I've been talking about men's mental health for many, many years now. And it's something that doesn't really seem to have a solution to it. And it's still the biggest killer of men under 44, under 47. I think it's almost to the stat that our terrible stats aren't really getting any better. And I didn't think there were any particular solutions. The solution was that men need to talk more. I thought that was a bit of a cop-out to say that men need to talk more. And then the Centre for Social Justice were reportedly sort of speaking to schools, and schools noticed that there was a big problem between men of 16 to 24.
Why? Are they just feeling lost?
Many reasons. They felt very demonised. The stats, COVID didn't help. There's a stat that men who aren't in training, education or employment is up 60% in the age group. To compare it to women, that's up 7% since COVID. They're falling behind in every aspect of school, starting school to ending school. And men, speaking to young men, of course, I think we kind of live in our little bubble. So it's talking to young men. One guy I mentored myself, and I started talking to him about this campaign. He said, I lost 4 friends to suicide. He lives near Newcastle, and spoke to another guy, and throughout his schooling, very well educated, from Wales, he said, I know 11 men who have committed suicide, 4 of them being my close friends.
Wow.
So there's a massive problem.
Why is it so important to you? Have you ever struggled with your mental health? I mean, I know you've said in the past you are your own biggest critic.
Yeah, I think I have. I've definitely had dark periods, which is why I came out and spoke about it, because I don't always think it's about men needing to talk. I think we're quite different creatures, men and women, and this is the difference between the two. And as women will chat and communicate within their friends, men generally just sort of take the mickey out of each other.
Well, it's the other thing, David, that I notice, that men don't really have friends, do they? They might have one friend, or...
I think they probably have a closer friend or a close net of sort of 3 or 4 friends, maybe.
But women have a support system.
And I think they do, and men don't really. And why I started talking about it was the fact I didn't want men to feel that they were on their own in that situation. So sometimes it's just that comforting thing. So people are going through it. It doesn't matter how much you're earning, what job you do, how successful you are. Mental well-being, I prefer to call it mental well-being instead of mental health, because there's connotations to it, that it can affect anyone at any time, and those stats aren't getting any better.
And male role models are very important, and you've made a few headlines today, and we all agree with you, actually, that you've talked about, getting in early with young kids in terms of reinforcing positive male role models for them.
I think there's a lot spoken about. I think we're seeing a lot. Social media is a big factor, but of just this sort of idea of toxic masculinity, which if you look into it, has been a phrase that was brought around in the 80s, but actually it started really being used on social media in about 2013.
And then the algorithms keep feeding you the same
algorithms kicking.
thing.
I mean, this isn't just affecting, social media isn't just affecting men. If you actually look at the stats for anxiety and depression and sort of body image, if you look at the amount of cases for young girls, for women in 2013, 2012, 2013, it was fairly stagnant and then just shot up. And no one could work out why this was.
Brenda works with a lot of young people in her son's memory and with her charity. And you said you've seen this with young men just feeling disenfranchised.
Absolutely. And as you say, misrepresented is a lot of it. And, putting it out there that young men you should be scared of them or walk across the road, or, I think that breeds the wrong picture of our young men who
It is, and young men are feeling demonised about that. Yeah. And there was a stat that 60% of sixth formers are being taught that young men are a problem within our society. And of course, young women are getting fed this algorithm on social media. And I do kind of feel like, we are, from the reports I was saying, 2 men who are great role models to get out there and sort of mentor young men, and we know there's a problem to go and do it, but I also think men are kind of useless at doing stuff, sometimes getting things going, I kind of feel this stat is kind of, men haven't quite helped themselves here. We know the stats, we're not doing anything, so I'm kind of saying, well, the empowerment is in women as well to get things going. My biggest role model, because I came to the fashion industry and I didn't have anyone because of There was no one in the male modelling industry that had done what I wanted to achieve. And I had Tandy Anderson from Select Model Agency, and she championed me and still does. 25 years later, she was my strength. She was my, apart from having my dad and my grandfather.
Well, talking about dad, I mean, I presume you want to be a strong role model for your girls. You've got two young daughters, so you want them to see you, helping around the house, doing the washing, doing the schoolwork, which we know you do, and not have this stereotype that dads are a bit useless.
Well, I think, it's down to men as well too. But I think we are the first generation as dads having to do that. And it's not the stereotypical view of staying at home or, leaving for work and not doing anything. A lot of dads are having to do that, but also getting home and helping with the cooking and the shopping. And more dads I know are cooking, are the chefs of the family now.
Yeah.
Or anything else. So
I went to 2 weddings of 30-somethings over the summer, and I was so heartened by the men because all the kids were there, and the men were doing as much. And it wasn't just like, oh, I'm babysitting my own child over here, aren't I amazing? It was like, they were getting the wipes out and doing this and changing the nappies, and the women were over here having a nice glass of champagne.
Oh, no,
I loved to see it. It was great. Young men are doing a lot of great stuff out there, and I think you're right.
They need to be championed. Well, listen, we wish you well with the Lost Boys campaign.
Thank you.
It's a really good campaign and really interesting to hear what you've got to say. Thank you very much. Over to see you, David Gandy.